Thank you so much, Mr. President, for speaking with us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
We have a lot to get to, but I first want to talk about the economy, where we are right now. Of course, we're starting with another round of stimulus. Can you talk about that and what's needed for Republicans and Democrats to meet in the middle?
So we had the greatest economy in the history of the world, not only in our country, in every country. We were beating China, beating everybody. They were having the worst economy they've had in over 67 years. So we were doing with the tariffs and all the things that I was doing. And then we had to close it up. It came from China. They should have stopped it. They could have stopped it, but they didn't. They stopped it from going into their country, but they didn't stop it from here, Europe, or the rest of the world. And we had to close it up, and we did that. And now we're coming back, and we're doing stimulus. We've already done it, as you know, and very successfully. And we'll probably have something worked out. We'll see what happens. The problem with the Democrats, as you know, they want bailout money for their states and cities that have done so poorly under Democrat leadership, and I'm not happy with that. It's not appropriate. This is having to do with the corona, I call it the China virus. And so I think we're doing very well. We had the best job numbers we've ever had, percentage-wise. You take a look at what happened. Guess close to 7 million jobs over the last 2 months. New numbers are going to be coming out very soon. We're back. We're doing very well. I think next year is going to be one of the best years we've ever had, and it looks very, very strong.
Looking forward to the third quarter, how do you anticipate that looking?
I think the third quarter is going to be good. I think it's going to be good. I think the fourth quarter is going to be very, very good. But we're just coming out of something that we had no choice. We saved millions of lives by closing. If we didn't close it up, you would have lost millions of lives. And by closing it, I mean, we've done a really good job. The ban on China was very important. We banned people coming in highly infected, and we banned people from coming in from China and then from Europe. We did the ban on Europe. Very important. It really, I think, is going to be, I think we're going to have a very special economy in about for next year. But I think third quarter actually is going to be very good.
A lot of things shut down, including churches. Let's talk about that and the importance of reopening churches. I know you've talked about that.
I think they should open the churches. It's up to the governors, but I think, and I'm recommending it, you open the churches. They'll spread. They'll be socially spread. They'll have masks. And they'll do what they have to do, you know, the hygiene and everything else that we know. It's a very simple list. But I think it's very unfair that they have, I saw Jim Jordan the other day talking about it very well, that they have 50,000 people protesting, and they're standing on top of each other practically, and yet you're not allowed to go to church, you don't go to schools. We want to open our churches, we want to open our schools, and everybody wants to be safe. They know what to do. They'll stay away, and, you know, won't be the same way. Maybe you'll have an extra service or 2 or 3, but they have to let the churches open. They want to put, I'm tell you, the Democrats want to put them out of business. They want to put the churches out of business, and it's very unfair. So they don't complain about the protests, which are horrible in many cases. You look at Portland, it's a disaster, but they don't want the churches open. They don't want the schools open. They don't want offices open. So it's a very unfair situation to a lot of people.
Mr. President, is there a way to deem churches as essential businesses? How can we do that?
I am looking at that because I think it's enough already. You have some states, I think they have they never want them open. They don't want churches open. Look, the Democrats, frankly, if you look at the radical left Democrats, which are radical left now, they've gone radical left, whether you're talking about life or whether you're talking about almost anything, they're not liking it. They're not liking it.
I know that you've heard about the vandalism, the horrific vandalism. Many, many churches have been vandalized over the past recent weeks. When you heard about that, what did you think?
I think it's a disgrace, and I think it's partially because they're not allowed to function. They're not allowed to really function, and I think it's disgraceful that it can happen. And, you know, they want to defund the police. They want to stop the police. They want to have them at least to a minimum. And we're just the opposite. I just got endorsed by Texas law enforcement, by Florida, all of the sheriffs and the law enforcement. I can't imagine them ever, I can't imagine law enforcement ever endorsing Biden. He's got a hard time in a lot of ways, let's face it, but I can't imagine that ever happening. So we're just about have everybody endorsing us in terms of law enforcement. And, you know, with the churches, you need some law enforcement to help you out also. But it's the fact that they're closed, and they, you know, bad things happen when they're closed. It's a very terrible situation what they're doing to churches. And these are governors that are radical left or Democrat. It's almost becoming the same thing. And I don't think they want churches open.
What can be done to stop this vandalism? What do you think?
Well, what you need is the law enforcement. It's areas usually run by radical left Democrats. I mean, where you have Republican leadership, where you have Republican governors and mayors, you don't have this problem. You have this problem where you have radical left Democrats in virtually every instance. So what you have to do is elect Republicans. And if you had a Republican, as an example, if Biden got in, you'd have Portland all over our country. It would be like Portland. These people are agitators, they're anarchists. You'd have that all over our country. You know, we stepped in, and a lot of people said we were early. Well, let us be early, better early than late. But we did a good job there. We did a great job in Seattle. That would have been burned to the ground, frankly. And but with Portland, and we didn't do our big job. We did our much smaller job. We had to protect our building, and our buildings, actually, a number of buildings, but the courthouse would have been burned down. The courthouse would have been destroyed if we didn't step in. People said, oh, we went early. Well, if we didn't go then, the courthouse would have been destroyed because Seattle was not protecting it. So you would have that situation all over the United States, and that's unacceptable.
And Mr. President, when top of mind for a lot of parents, including myself, the reopening of schools. I know you just tweeted about that.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that?
No, I want the schools open. First of all, children are unbelievably strong, right? Their immune system. Something's going on because out of thousands of deaths in New Jersey, thousands, because I just saw the statistics, many thousands of people died. One person under the age of 18, and that was a person I believe had diabetes on top of everything. So children just are, I guess I heard one doctor say virtually they're immune from it. They have a very strong something, and they are not affected, and we have to open our schools. You know, there's a big danger to keeping people locked in, and they're also finding it's wonderful to use computers, but it's not a great way of learning. They now know that it's much better to be with a teacher on campus or in a school. That's much better than looking at a computer all day long. So we have to get our schools open. We have to get them open soon.
And if there was one message you wanted to say to our viewers, what would it be right now?
Well, I think anybody having to do with, frankly, religion, but certainly the Catholic Church, you have to be with President Trump. When it comes to pro-life, when it comes to all of the things, these people are going to take all of your rights away, including Second Amendment, because, you know, Catholics like their Second Amendment. So I saved the Second Amendment. If I wasn't here, you wouldn't have a Second Amendment. And pro-life is your big thing, and you won't be on that side of the issue, I guarantee, if the radical left, because they're going to take over. They're going to push him around like he was nothing.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. President.
Thank you very much.